Hey everyone, this is Jane with Barlow Herbal, and happy Sunday, January 5th of 2025. It is a brand new year, and it already seems like, yep, we're in it to win it 5 days in. I had some really good thoughts come in this week and some really interesting things as well. So, the first thing I want to share with you is a little exercise that I started doing based on a book that I've been reading. So I was suggested a book called Pivot by a woman named Michelle Wright. And it's a big, thick book. It's a memoir. And she has had an incredible life. From what I understand, she's still around and alive. And I'm actually not quite done with this book yet. I've got probably another 200 pages of about a 900-page book, if I were just to guess. But one of the big things that is a thread running through, especially the last half of this book, is the way that she connects with Mother Nature and different entities, if you will, that make up nature. And she's able to work in her gardens, which are apparently very famous gardens at this point. And I'd never heard of her. I was suggested this book by a friend. In fact, Monica, thank you for suggesting it. I am very much enjoying it. And I love the idea of connecting in on a really deep level and listening for answers from Mother Nature. Because we have the ability to tune into those frequencies if we will just listen, right? So what I did this week was an interesting exercise. I did two different spots. So at my house, in a detached building on my property, I have a bunch of herbs and remedies, and it's all my homemade stuff. And I have a lot. At this point over the years, I've got a ton of singles curing. I've got a bunch filtered. I've got, this is the stuff I share with my family, and this is also where I formulate and I work on new recipes and I work on new formulations, and I've got a lot of bulk herbs and a lot of stuff curing in jars and jugs and different containers, and it's a really cool spot actually. But based on this memoir of Michelle Wright's, I thought, I'm gonna sit in my little herbal apothecary, and I'm going to tune in and see if they have anything to say. And it was, it wasn't really something that felt odd, but it was just something that I don't really do, and I don't really do it with an intention that was quite so set in an intention. I took my journal with me, and I sat on a chair that's down there, that's in my space, and I'm surrounded by plants and tinctures and different formulations. And there's some that I'm actually working on that's in process, and then there's just a bunch of raw herbs that are packaged up and just sitting there waiting for me to do something with. So I just kind of said, sat there. I thought, I'm going to meditate for a minute. I'm just going to close my eyes. I'm going to let my mind just clear, and I'm going to tune into the frequencies and the energies of the plants that are here and see what they have to say. So that's what I did. I didn't have any agenda. I didn't have any expectation. I just was like, let's see if they'll talk to me. So I sat there, and my chair was sitting next to a barrel that had some herbs in it. And I just kind of put my hand on the barrel, and I closed my eyes, and almost immediately my hand kind of started tingling a little bit, and the shiver ran up my arm and just kind of landed, and it was like, we want to play. We want to be of service. We want to help you. And it was so crystal clear. It was almost like a voice was talking to me. My eyes kind of flew open, and I was like, holy cow. Like, it did not take any time at all for this message to come through. It was almost like, we've been waiting for you to do this, Jane. And even though I work with the herbs closely and I feel like I connect with them on an energetic, beautiful level, I really never ask a question of the herbs like, what do you want to say? Do you have a message for me? And it was just like, let's go. We want to play. We want to help. We want to serve. We want to work through you. And it was just, I even get shivers. I get a little bit of a shiver right now just thinking about that. So I pulled out my journal and I just was like, oh, okay, let's do this. It was a really fun experiment. And I know that anybody that has ever done anything like this knows what I'm talking about. And I also know that if you're listening to this and it sounds a little wacky, I would really highly suggest that you try it with whatever it is that you're doing. Whatever rocks your world, whatever your passion is, your purpose. Maybe you want to talk to your garden. Maybe you want to talk to the paints if you're a painter. Maybe you want to talk to an instrument if you play an instrument. Maybe you're moving into a new house and you want to ask the house if it has anything that it wants to say to you. Or maybe you're leaving a house and you want to say, do you have anything you want to say to me? Now that might sound crazy, but the cool thing is, if you will pause, you will ask a question with an intention of just whatever is supposed to come will come. And then you sit, then you're still and you're quiet and you just open your mind and you kind of close your thought process to busyness, and you don't think about what you have to do and what you have to say and where you have to be. You just simply go into this place where you're just quiet in your mind. It doesn't have to take a long time, and it's not going to be like you're going to hear a voice coming out of whatever. You might. I mean, who knows, right? Mine was just an energetic frequency of these words that were like, yes, let's do this. Let's go. Let's play. That was probably the biggest word. It's like, this is fun. Plant medicine is fun. And we are so glad you are tuned into us. And I didn't have, it just flowed, it flowed right into me. It was really, really amazing. So then that was kind of at the first of the week. And then I just had a really, really busy week at the first week of the year, and a lot of stuff to tie up, all the business stuff, the taxes, all the stuff. And then I thought, you know what? I'm going to do this at my warehouse, my fulfillment center. So I went out there yesterday, which was Saturday, and it was quiet and empty. And we had just finished up a big construction project. We just got done building a storage room inside our facility. And then we also built a clean room to make all of our, just upgraded our clean room to make all our skin products. And so the whole construction project had just wound up. There's one more small detail that needs to be done, but it's very minor. And it was clean. I have the most amazing team. If you've talked to them on the phone, if you've had a communication with them, you know how amazing these people that work with me, how amazing they are and how much they care. And so I just wanted to go. So I went in, and the parking lot was empty. Of course, the building, all the lights were off, so I turned on one light. And I went into the main area where the packing tables are and all the products are. And I just kind of stood there for a minute. And I was like, okay, what flowed over for me was gratitude at how beautiful this space is. And it was not, when we first moved into this about 6.5 years ago, it needed a lot of cleanup and a lot of work. There was industry that was making things there were metal shavings everywhere, and it actually took us quite a long time to get it to a place where it was, clean, and So I just kind of looked at it, looked around, and I will tell you the energy in there. This is something that I've personally felt for a really long time, but it's an intentional energy. I know that if you're a person who's ever done anything like take sage around and maybe cleared out some bad frequencies or bad energies, or if there was an argument or a fight or something somewhere, and you did some energetic cleansing work, then you know what I'm talking about when I say you can feel the energy or the frequency of a building, or a space, right? Like a home. You can feel the energy of a home when you go visit it. You can feel, is it good? Is it amazing? Can you feel the love in there without even, and you can also feel the negativity, and if that is there. So I kind of stood, next to one of the packing tables, and I had my journal all open and ready, and I kind of got a little bit of the same thing, like, hey, we're all here. I'm surrounded by a lot of bottles and boxes of bottles, and if you look at the product lineup that I have at this point, sometimes I'm overwhelmed with gratitude that I've got to bring to the world what I've gotten to bring to the world. And it didn't all happen at once. It was one at a time, with, of course, the beauty of my dad's line that I started, all those years ago. And it's one at a time, these formulations. And I just get overwhelmed with gratitude when I really take a minute to look at what I've been able to create with the help of the beautiful people who helped me create it. So I thought, okay, I had an intuition. I need to go around. I need to sit in each person's desk. I need to sit in their chair and sit at their desk. I was like, okay, I'll do that. So I started with, I have four employees, full-time people working there. And one is my son and his wife. His wife, Glenda, has been with me for 20 years. And she is a powerful force of just beauty and stability and love. And I always tease my son, if you mess this up, I'm keeping her. And it's a joke because he's a wonderful guy and a good husband. But Scott also works with me. And he's been with me for about 4.5 years. And then I have Malia and Alexa. And they are actually sisters. And they've been with me 4 years and 3 years. So both a long time, completely aligned with the vision, the mission, the love that they feel for what we get to do and all of that. So I just went around to each of their desks and I felt the energy. It was really kind of a cool exercise. Just for myself, and I could feel their energy in each of their areas, and nobody's in a closed off space. There's a couple that are in offices that are still open, but it was just really, really amazing just to get the feel of each person's energy. And then I spent a few minutes at each person's desk, and then I went back out into the warehouse where the packing tables were. And I got the same thing I got when I was at my house, sitting amongst just the herbs that are at my house. I got the same thing. We are ready to do this. Let's play. We need to be spread far and wide. And it was a little bit of a call to, like a call to action for me in a way, because I've been so protective of what I do, and because I don't want anything to mess it up. And I've also been, I've had a really rough year with what I felt has been some overreach, if I may. But, if anything, it's actually solidified my perspective and mission of what I intend to do while I'm living in this body, in this lifetime, because I've already made the decision that this is the last time I'm here. My soul, my spirit is like, that's it. Everything that I do in this human existence on planet Earth, in this particular lifetime, it's my last one here. This world feels so dense, and there's so much suffering that and I'm sure you can relate to this, at least on a small scale. You might think I'm a tiny bit crazy, but that's also okay. um, so so I just was like, oh, okay. I got some of the almost similar messages, but what was interesting is my warehouse basically is full of packaged, bottled. The frequency in there is so high. It's a little bit interesting to describe unless you actually were to come there and experience it. It's such a beautiful feel there. So it was like, we're ready. Help us fly. And I actually had a visual of products with wings on them and flying out of the building on their way to the people who need them, who are waiting for them, who are ready to be on a healing journey so that they can walk through this human existence with vibrant health, because that's how we're designed. We're designed for this kind of wellness. So it was a really cool exercise that I would suggest you take a minute and see how you can incorporate that into what you do and what your life is like. And it might be with a hobby you have. It might be with a business. It might be with your workspace. I think we can ask anything, and we can tune into the energetic frequencies of anything. And I think this is a powerful time to do that, because one of the things that also came into my thought process this week very strongly was the idea of timelines, and how the timelines, we are on there seems to be two massive timelines. And the split seems to be getting wider and wider, because I think that when you learn new information and then you process it, you let your perspective take a look at it, you change your perspective if you need to, and that's where the majority of this video is going to be, is about perspective, because this has been really huge. But when you have the ability to change your perspective, it can literally change the timeline that you walk on. And as I've been kind of saying, this last political thing has kind of caused a little bit of a split with some of my family members, and I literally can feel the timelines that we're walking on, the distance between them growing. And the perspective is I wish them well. I wish them love and hope and happiness. And maybe they'll do a timeline jump, and they'll want to come onto a timeline where it's unconditional love. And I'm not saying anyone's timeline is wrong. I'm saying that it might be, no one's timeline is wrong. They're doing their timeline according to what they want to do. And I think that's a beautiful thing. Now, yesterday, I'm going to tell you one more thing before I really go into I made this great list of things about how changing your perspective can change everything about your life. But I had a really great conversation with my niece about a little exercise she does when there's someone that she needs to release energetically, or just simply give love to, so that she can release them energetically from her frequency field. And basically, let me see what I wrote here. My niece shared with me a little exercise she does to send love and release negative energies or people from her field. And basically, she would go into a meditative state, which basically is super easy. You just have to close your eyes and quiet your mind. And I know you might hear people say, oh, that sounds easy for you, but I've never been successful. Well, practice it. And you might not be able to totally shut off your mind, but you don't need a whole lot of time to do a meditation that can be powerful. And the more you do it, the better and easier it gets. And it is powerful when you learn how to meditate, even in quiet moments. She said she actually does this at work. She'll be at work, she'll need to have a moment when things are kind of seeming, you can tune into energies and frequencies and realize you have control over how they affect you. And you can have that control very quickly. It's a very, very powerful way to walk through this world, because you can utilize this no matter what situation you're in. So she basically envisions a white ball of light, and she will put it in her mind in front of a person or situation, and she'll just focus on that light. And if it's a person, she will basically at some point, even if it's within a few seconds, just put that in front of them, and then that's theirs. They can pick it up, they can take it with them, they can decide to brush it away, and once she's done that, then that she's now kind of handed off a frequency, an energetic field, and given responsibility back to that person. And and what she's realized, it no longer affects her. And I hope I got this right. My beautiful niece but it was something that was like that I think is amazing. And then I told her, well, I have this thing I've been doing lately where I energetically will take a pair of scissors. I said, mine doesn't quite sound as lovely as yours, but I would be like, okay, I need to energetically use my scissors and cut a cord from a person or situation. And I said, I can see in my mind, once I do this, I can actually see the strings of frequency in my mind, and I can feel the fields move away from me, and I can almost see the person or the situation fade off into the distance. And so we were talking about that yesterday. I'm like thinking, all right, great, you got a beautiful ball of white light, and I've got some scissors. So sometimes you might need both. So that's kind of the whole point, right? Which I actually really love that, because I'm like, thank you for the reminder that sometimes we don't have to just take those scissors. Sometimes we do. But then other times we need to go, all right, I'm going to gather up this beautiful white light, and it's going to be the most glowy ball of white light, and I'm going to put it right in front of you. I'm going to send it over to you, and you get to decide what to do with it. So I think both of those are very powerful, and they both can have their place. So the majority of my week, like I was saying, was really about perspective. So what I wrote at the beginning of this was, it's all about your perspective. What you think about something or anything, and how your perspective changes it. You can decide to spend your time in any energetic frequency you want. What habits, thoughts, and actions are caught in certain energy fields. So you can choose to change your habits, your thoughts, and your actions. I think we get stuck in these because they're comfortable. If it's comfortable to say something that has a negative frequency to it, most of the time, I think people don't even think about it. You don't even think, oh, that's affecting me. And it's affecting the people around me. It's affecting the situation. But it does, and you might not realize it. A conscious effort must be made to change how you perceive things. You have to make a conscious effort. So this is where I wrote down some really, really good ideas. Okay, so the very first thing to realize, and this is a beautiful way to put it, is that you are the architect of your energy. You're the one who gets to build your energy, right? So here's what I wrote after that. Your thoughts, your words, and your actions literally will create a sort of like a blueprint of what your life looks like. So these things that you think about, your actions, all of this, you can create a blueprint. You can be an architect if you look at it that way, because you are building something. So you need to decide this. Are you building a beautiful building of abundance, or are you building what I would like to say is a prison of limitation? So you can say, I'm going to build a beautiful building, like I'm going to build the Taj Mahal of abundance and love frequency. Or you can literally take the frequencies and the energies and how you perceive things, and you can build yourself it's like a prison of limitation. Oh, that I can't do that. I mean, that is a beautiful way to start this. So then I wrote this second one. Shifts happen all the time, in the political arena, in the medical system, in your family, in your workplace, in everything. Everything shifts. Then I wrote this, but only when you choose it. Okay, so we can choose to let things shift us into a negative, or we can let things just shift us into we get to choose. So here's what I wrote after that. Transformation starts when we become aware. What story are we telling ourselves about our life, our health, or our truth? What do we tell ourselves? I talk to people all the time about their health. And sometimes I'll give them a little nudge in the direction of, listen to what you're saying to yourself. And then when I remind them, it's like, oh yeah, of course. So a lot of these things are simply pure habit. So we need to learn to challenge the narratives that will drag us into the lower frequencies, like fear and guilt and shame and apathy and all of those things. We need to challenge those narratives, okay? Now, the third thing I wrote here is that we need to realize that we have a powerful currency, and that is our energy. This is powerful, and there might be times that it's really difficult to keep your energy and your frequency high, but it's a conscious choice, right? So here's what I wrote about after that. We need to stop spending our currency on what drains us. People, situations, and thoughts. Stop spending your precious currency, your energy, on the things that drain you. You get to choose. We need to invest in what aligns with our highest vision. Choose it. Is this working for you? Then choose something different. And it's going to take practice until you get to the place where those are the frequencies that are going to automatically attract to you. That's going to come to you automatically. So then I wrote this about perception. Perception is our superpower. And then after that, what you focus on expands. How many times have you heard that? Like if you've been doing personal development, if you watched The Secret when it came out a couple of decades ago, you know exactly what I'm talking about. What you focus on expands. Always. Are you feeding your energy into problems or solutions? So you need to decide, am I going to spend my energy talking about the problems, focusing on the problems, complaining about the problems, sharing my problems with other people? Or am I going to focus on the solutions and collaborating with others about the solutions and asking my higher self, what are the solutions? You get to choose that. So then the next one is this. We need to detox our mind as much as we detox our body. I just started this biannual cleanse I do every January and July. Just started. It's a candida and a parasite cleanse. I'm constantly doing things that detox my body, whether it's broken cell wall chlorella, whether it's a liver cleanse, whether it's a kidney cleanse, whether it's this particular cleanse that I'm doing right now. I think it's really easy for those of us that have been on a health journey to always focus on this physical body and detoxing our physical body. But how often do we talk about or think about or make an attempt to detox our mind? That's important, but maybe you've never done it. Okay, so here's what I wrote after that. Mental toxins like doubt, blame, and judgment will weigh us down more than any physical toxin. Because think about this, what you think about and the toxins you fill your mind with are going to affect your physical body. Okay, so let me say that again. Mental toxins like doubt, blame, and judgment will weigh us down more than a physical toxin. That's something to really let drop into you. Have you ever done a mental detox or a mind detox? Or a deliberate one. So we need to practice emotional fasting. Okay, I love this. Release one limiting thought every day. How powerful is that? Boom, right? Game changer. Okay. The next one is high frequency living can be like a revolution. So when we make a conscious decision to change our perception and live in a higher frequency, this is the kind of revolution that makes the changes. Instead of, picking up our guns and picking up our angry swords and, metaphysical or metaphorical or metaphysical, but we get to choose. And not only that, when we actually realize that raising our vibrational frequencies is more of a revolution than what we think is a revolution, then that's where things really start to change, right? So after that, I wrote this: joy, courage, and peace are acts of rebellion in a world that is conditioned by fear. We are controlled when we fear something. In fact, we have reached this place where we even fear death. We all know it's inevitable. None of us knows when it's our time to go, but we're wasting our time in these lower frequencies when we should be in joy. So let me say that again. Joy, courage, and peace are acts of rebellion in a world that is conditioned by fear. So be a disruptor, right? Show others how to thrive by your example. I love this whole concept of living by example. When you show people what it looks like to vibrate in the frequency of love and joy, no matter what happens, no matter what anyone says, no matter what the TV says, or in fact, you know what, if you're still watching TV, unless it's a movie or something, I have been taking myself out of some of the things that I've been watching over the years. I'll tune into a channel and it'll be like, especially, this is mostly on the internet, on YouTube. I watch a lot of things on YouTube. And I have these favorite channels, inspirational channels, even mainstream alternative news channels that I've dipped into that have carried me through to a whole different thought process. And then when I get new information or I raise my frequency to a new level, those channels no longer resonate with me. And I might have someone in my circle, a friend or a family member, will send me something from a channel I used to watch, and I can't even watch it. So it's not about saying that the path along the way is wrong, because it's not. The path along the way is the right path along the way for you. But when those frequencies stop doing good things for you, it's time to move on and to ditch them. Okay, so be the disruptor and show others how to thrive by showing an example. I don't tell anybody, stop watching that, stop doing that. And if I ever find myself in a situation where I might say that, I immediately say, okay, you do you. Because I've reached a point where I really don't want to tell anyone how to live their life. In fact, it's interesting. I've said a couple of times over this past year, and even though I don't even know if the past couple months, but in right before Thanksgiving of 2023, so this has been more than a year, I decided I was done drinking alcohol. I wasn't a heavy drinker. I drank a glass of wine, I guess on a pretty regular basis with my dinner, probably 4 or 5 times a week. And I guess that maybe some people consider that kind of heavy. But I'm a person who grew up in a religion that we didn't drink alcohol. And I had my first sip of wine when I was 34 years old. And it took me a while to acquire a taste for it. But the reason I tell you the story is because when I stopped drinking, I thought it wasn't like, well, I'm going to stop drinking for a month. I'm going to stop drinking for a year. I just decided I was done drinking. And a year came and went this past Thanksgiving, and the thought kind of rolled around in my head, maybe I should share on my channel, 1 year alcohol free, here's my experience. And I just thought, that doesn't really feel right. I just don't drink alcohol anymore. And I'm out with a lot of people sometimes, and there's alcohol everywhere. And I'm thankfully in a family group and a friendship group where no one is ever pressured. There's never any pressure to drink. Everyone gets to do them. And so that is a beautiful thing right there. And I think that when we just live by pure example, that is the biggest disruption to the system that we can even imagine, especially when you're taking yourself into higher frequencies, right? So then the next one I wrote here is we have power when we make a conscious choice. So every moment we're choosing to either elevate, or what I like to say is staying stagnant. We can just stay. It's like getting, kind of catching ourselves in quicksand. Every moment we get to choose to either elevate or just stay stagnant. Why would you not want to choose elevation, right? So we need to be deliberate about our inputs, what we consume, what we read, and what we believe. What do we allow in to our field? If something that we allow in we know is not right, get rid of it. Don't entertain it for a while. Don't even, don't think you have to impress someone else by absorbing things that don't serve you. And you don't have to make a big stink about it. You don't have to say, oh, that's horrible. Why are you watching that? Why are you looking at that? Why are you reading that? Why are you going there? Just ease yourself out of a situation, or don't agree to watch something if it doesn't resonate with you. Take some time and really pay attention to what you allow in. What kind of input are you allowing in? So then the next thing I wrote is, it goes along with the idea of who you surround yourself with. So your tribe becomes your vibe. Okay, think about that. If you become like the people you spend the most time with. And we all know that's true. In fact, one of the things that I really love is the idea of surrounding yourself with people who are smarter than you, or more talented than you, or have more abundance in their life than you do. Because what will happen is their habits and their frequency and the way that they operate that's gotten them to that level is going to rub off on you. So there's always the thought process of surrounding yourself with people who are higher vibe than you, right? So your tribe determines your vibe. That is amazing and so true. So after that, I wrote this: surround yourself with people who are committed to their growth. And then this: be ruthless with your boundaries. You get to set the boundaries. You. No one else gets to determine. If someone's trying to make you feel bad because you have boundaries, that's not your problem. That's their problem. And when I've been in a couple situations, even lately, where I've verbalized that to someone who's an acquaintance, not a super good friend, but there was some holidays where we were in each other's company, and there was a moment, I can't remember exactly what the conversation was, but I said something like, I can't remember what the conversation was, but I was like, oh yeah, well that's the way I walk through life. That's my perspective, and I don't care what anyone else thinks about that. And the person was like, oh wow, and this is a person who deeply cares what other people think about him. Deeply, he's surrounded by nice things. He's surrounded by fancy things, and I don't. If someone doesn't, they think I'm crazy the way I look at the world and the way that the things I have. I don't care. It was really a beautiful moment because I watched his eyes, and it was a fascinating moment. But I made him think, and I could tell. This is being ruthless with your boundaries, and I don't know if that was a perfect example of that, but that's the example that came to my mind. So we need to let go of relationships that anchor us in lower frequencies. This can be hard, guys, I know, because we have these long friendships, we have family members, but this is where we get to choose. And then this was an interesting one. I think that as I was sitting and really working on this list of perceptions, then this really interesting thought came through. Um, and you probably can relate to this. We need to let pain be a portal to higher frequencies. And none of us like pain. We don't like physical pain. We don't like emotional pain. We don't like mental pain. We don't like to watch others in pain, but we need to let pain be a portal. So think about that. And here's what I wrote after that. Pain doesn't exist to punish us. It exists to help propel us toward something better. Like if I'm in pain physically because I don't take care of my health, I don't eat as clean as I like to, maybe I eat too much sugar over the holidays, then it's like, all right, this is causing me some digestive issues, this is causing me pain. And so this is going to propel me into a different portal of doing something different. I'm going to now take sugar out. I'm going to do a detox. I'm going to do some cleanses. I'm going to do some fasting. So pain can propel us, and that was a very simple example. We can take that to things that are a lot more strategic and have a lot more impact. But I will tell you, as this physical vessel, this temple, this body we have that takes us through life, this is a pretty important one. When we feel pain in this, we get a disease, we get chronic health issues and inflammation and whatever we get. This pain can be a portal to making a change. So then I wrote this. We need to alchemize our suffering and turn it into wisdom by asking ourselves this question. What is this teaching me? A lot of times the answer is very simple. It's like, stop eating sugar. Stop doing this lifestyle habit. Start walking every day. Start doing this and stop doing this, right? The answer to a lot of these are very, very simple. So ask yourself this question. Oh, I'm suffering. What is this teaching me? Perfect, right? Okay, so the next one, this one's really good. We need to master the art of letting go. This can include everything and everyone. There's a beautiful book, again, by Dr. David Hawkins. I love this man. This would be a person that I would have liked to know him in person while he was still alive. But luckily there's a lot of stuff on YouTube, him talking, him giving lectures, and his books, all his books. One of his favorite books of mine is called Letting Go. And I've probably read that 5 or 6 times. Most of them is listening on Audible, because that's a very easy way for me to absorb information that's kind of dense like that and so good. So I wrote this. Are we holding on to resentment or regret? And to me, that's like drinking poison or then expecting someone else to suffer, right? I really love that comparison. When we hold on to resentment or regret, you can't change the past. But if you hold on to a grudge or you hold on to resentment, it's like drinking poison and expecting someone else to die from it. It's just like that. It's that ridiculous if you really look at it that way. Forgiveness frees your mind and your energy and allows it to flow where it's needed to flow. So then the next one. This one will be on every list, and this is gratitude, right? Gratitude is also a superpower. So gratitude can shift our energy out of scarcity and into abundance within seconds. Think about how you feel when you're feeling sorry for yourself. If you don't have enough, you don't have as much money as you want, or you don't, let's take that example. If you switch your mindset to gratitude and you say, well, what do I have? Well, I have a person who loves me, I have a bed to sleep in, I have food for today. You add it, when you take that attitude of gratitude, it immediately shifts your energy field. So this is a perspective change. You change your perspective. And I don't know one person that this has not worked for. Every person that gets an attitude shift into gratitude, it shifts them within seconds, because it's a reminder of what we do have. And what popped into my head right now was Viktor Frankl, who wrote Man's Search for Meaning. This is a powerful story. He spent time in a concentration camp and lost his family, and believe he was the only survival, but his story is powerful. This is something you've not read. I would really suggest that you pick this book up and read it. It's a small book, and it's a powerful read. And it reminds you of your blessings, and it reminds you of your perspective. That's probably one of the most powerful. So one more thing about gratitude. When we start our day with 3 things we're grateful for, we can literally feel a ripple effect. In fact, you've probably heard this many times from many people, but when you start your day with 3 things you're grateful for, and you end your day with 3 things you're grateful for, everything in your life becomes different. Everything. Okay, now this next one I super love. And this one kind of dropped in because I consider myself to be this. Be the eye in the storm. I have found myself sometimes in situations where I have to bring myself back to center because the world around me seems so chaotic. And I go, okay, bring myself to the middle of center and say, are you okay in this present moment? And I kind of look around and I'm like, yeah, I'm okay. There's a funny scene in a movie, True Lies. This is something my husband and I watched a couple weeks ago. And one of the characters, there's a little chase and they're shooting at each other. And one of the characters stands behind a skinny telephone pole. And there's a guy shooting at him. And he's out, his body is on either side of the pole. The pole is here and he's on either side. His body is not as skinny as the pole. And he's like, after the shooting is over, he pats himself up and down and he's like, whew, I'm okay. And he puts a kiss on the pole. It just made me think of that, because if you stand in this moment and you say, I'm okay, there's a storm going on around me, so be the eye in the storm. And I felt like that 100 times last year. I felt like I cannot believe the chaos that feels like it's swirling around me, and I'm just there. I'm like just there. So after I wrote that about being the eye in the storm, I wrote this: the world may be chaotic, but our inner peace doesn't have to be. We need to anchor ourselves in the present moment. We need to do meditation. We need to practice and learn powerful breathwork techniques. And we need to realize that stillness at certain moments is non-negotiable. It's non-negotiable when you feel like your world is chaotic, for you not to take a minute wherever you are. No matter where you are, you might be in a crowded store and you just feel overwhelmed. Take a minute, envision a storm around you, and envision that you are in the eye of the storm. And let that bring you to stillness. And it only can take a few seconds, and it can be extremely empowering. And you can literally walk through the rest of that moment in that crowded, chaotic, maybe noisy place, and you're fine. You're fine because your perspective's changed, right? We need to live in the alignment with truth. And this can change as your truth expands and your truth grows. Truth resonates at a higher frequency than a lie or illusions. When you hear a truth bomb, you might get goosebumps. The hair on the back of your neck might stand up. You will feel it in your heart. Truth will land, and there is such a frequency and a beauty to truth. Seek truth in your health, your purpose, and your relationships, no matter how uncomfortable it is. Truth can be uncomfortable at first. It's like reading David Icke's books. If you've read any of his books, you know exactly what I'm talking about. When you hear things that are truth and they're uncomfortable, most people will put it away, they'll put it to the side, they'll never pick it up again. Let these uncomfortable things land with you, especially if you know that they're truths, and your whole world will start to shift, because then new things will open up to you. Okay, so seek truth in your health, your purpose, and your relationships, no matter how uncomfortable. Expect discomfort. Expect it. And then it's going to get more and more comfortable. And then you're going to evolve so quickly. Seriously. Your habits will dictate your frequency. So high vibrational habits like mindfulness, movement, authentic connection with others, this is where transformation starts, right? We need to make small, consistent changes that elevate our entire life. You know, the conversation I had with my niece yesterday about, you know, when she was telling me the story of the beautiful ball of white frequency and light energy that she would put out, it was really interesting because we were talking about that, about the habits that we have, and the conversation kind of morphed. We had a really beautiful conversation, and it just reminds me of how our habits become our frequency and how important it is. So then the next thing I wrote here is that we need to own our power. We need to own it. We have been so disempowered. We've been made to feel unworthy. You know, the world makes us feel unworthy. Religions make us feel unworthy. Our parents might have made us feel unworthy. Our siblings might have said something. We need to own our power as a divine spark of love and pure consciousness. We need to own that. We are perfect the way we are until someone else tells us we're not. The TV says we're not. A commercial says you're not good enough unless you do this or buy that or have this or eat that. What is that? We need to own our power. And then I wrote this after that. We need to stop outsourcing our happiness, our health, or our purpose to others. We need to stop outsourcing it. We need to remember that we're not a victim, we are a creator. Okay? And I talk about that all the time. I talked about that a lot last week. We need to challenge the status quo. We need to challenge it. Okay? We need to reject things that are just mediocre. If things are mediocre, no. Don't let them in. Don't let them into your life. Don't let them into your frequency and your energetic field. Only accept the highest frequency. There might be times of real loneliness while that's happening, and that's okay. Okay? Don't settle for the story society tells us. Don't settle for any disconnect. And, you know, some of these other things I've been talking about, they all flow together. We need to forge our own path to what enlightenment means. You get to choose a path to enlightenment that might be different than mine. That's okay. I don't want anyone to tell me how to live my life. Like, I am the most stubborn person when it comes to that. And there are things that I work on so that I can evolve and grow. So it's not about perfection at all. It's about perception, right? Our energy speaks louder than words. Now, this is kind of the same idea of setting an example, because people will be able to feel our energetic frequency in the way we talk, in the way we walk through the world. When I walk out of my car at a grocery store and into the grocery store, and I'm walking to the grocery store, I know that there is a frequency to the way that I am moving through the world. And when you walk through it with an intention, people around it will feel it too. It's really quite stunning. You don't have to say anything, but then notice the frequency of others. When you start paying attention to those things, it is amazing. So I wrote that after the idea that our energy speaks louder than words. People will feel our vibration before we speak. If we show up in alignment, the right people will find us, right? Ask yourself, what frequency am I broadcasting? You know, what are you putting out there? Think of yourself as a radio and your frequency. It's that. Okay, we need to rise above the drama. We need to stop gossiping and blaming and letting negativity pull us into the lower frequencies. This is practice. This is a dense planet, guys. And some of these themes that I talk about kind of have some common threads week by week. But drama is super easy to get caught in. There's something I still need to work on myself. And then I just have a couple more thoughts to wind this up. This one I love, and this one I heard in Jack Canfield's, I think it was called The Success Principles. It's a big, thick book. It's just got this great list. I think there might be 100 or something. I think there's 100. But one of the most powerful ones that stuck out to me was the idea of acting as if. Okay, so you're going to act as if you're already there. Act as if you're already, take it down to the base level of making the kind of money you want to make. Acting as if you are already the most healthy person that you can possibly be. And when you act from that frequency, then what happens is then the things that you do will start to match up with the frequency of what you're acting, how you're acting. So like, think about it. If you want to lose weight, or you want to get healthier, and you get up in the morning and you have in your mind, I'm going to act as if I'm already the person that I want to be. What's going to happen is the things that you do are going to change. You're not going to eat a donut for breakfast, because a healthy person, if you're acting like the person that you want to be, if you're acting as if you are already that person, that's not going to be your choice for breakfast. And that's a really simple example. Okay, so after I wrote that, I had this great thought of the act as if idea. I wrote this: align your thoughts and actions with your future self, with the person that is already there, but your physical body hasn't caught up with you yet. Okay? The one who is thriving in health and truth. Live as if it were already true, and then watch the world conspire in your favor. Who doesn't love that? Like, if you take one thing from this whole message today, that would be the one I think that would be one of the most powerful things you can put into place right now. Act as if you are already there. It's already true. And then the world, the energetic frequencies that are there will align and conspire to make that happen for you. Okay, that's amazing. Okay, now the last one I wrote down here, this one is just going to tie this up. We need to be a warrior rather than a worrier. Okay, worrying does not change anything. Worrying about something that might happen, could happen, will happen, it's for sure going to be, it doesn't change anything when you worry about it. So be a warrior instead of a worrier. So then I wrote this: we need to realize that fear is a choice, and that courage takes practice. It always takes practice to have courage. You know, when 2020 hit, and I think it was summer of 2020 when they started the whole mask thing, when the whole mask thing happened, that was something where that was a line in the sand for me. I would not put a mask on. And the first time I walked into a store without a mask on, my heart sped up. There was, believe it or not, maybe you can relate to this, it took a little bit of courage. You know, and I remember walking into the post office with packages that already had postage on them, so I didn't have to wait at the counter, because they wouldn't have served me at the counter. They would not have helped me. But all I have to do is take my packages with postage on them and put them in a bin. I don't even have to talk to anybody. I could just go in. But there was a line of people, always lines of people, the post offices, and then the checkout clerks behind the counters, and the courage that it took the first few times I did that, it was very interesting. And there were, like, literally my heart rate sped up. And when I kept doing it, it became easier and easier and easier. I actually went in to have an x-ray on my knee. I think it was during 2021. And everybody in there, it was just an orthopedic surgery center. It wasn't a hospital. It was where they saw people for consultations and x-rays and checkups and stuff. And they wouldn't see me. and I was the only person in there with everyone. Anyway, I that one, by the time I got to that actual appointment, and I just said, okay, well, and I turned around and walked out because they wouldn't see me. And my courage didn't even need to be summoned. My courage levels were already there. So that is a bygone example, of course, but we never know what's going to be required of us. We never know what's coming in the future. And it's not about worrying about what's coming in the future. It's about developing that muscle that is your courage muscle, so that when the situation calls for you to be courageous, you can at least step into courage, because on the scale of consciousness, courage vibrates at 200. And if you look at the scale of consciousness, it goes from 0 to 1,000. Love resonates at 500. But when you get to the level of courage, which is 200, all of the levels below it are fear, guilt, shame, anger. All those lower frequencies are no longer part of your energy field when you get to the level of courage. And that's why I think this is the perfect place to end this on, is because courage, you never know when it's gonna be necessary for you to summon it. So then the last thing I wrote here is we need to show up in our life like it matters, because it does. If we show up like our life matters, man, our perception will change dramatically. So I would love to know what you think about this. Oh my goodness, the first time I've gone over an hour. Well, I've enjoyed this chat with myself. And if you made it to the end, I thank you. I had a great conversation with a very dear friend of mine, and Tracy, if you're still watching this, this is a like-minded soul that dropped into my friendship group probably 20 years ago. We met at the gym. She took my class for years. And when 2020 hit, we pretty quickly found out that we were like-minded souls. And she stopped in my warehouse to see me this week, and we had a great conversation. We connected, and she said she tunes in, and I said, oh yeah, sometimes I go on and on my Sunday messages. She's like, oh, I love it, don't stop. So here you go, my first video where I can talk for over an hour. But anyway, guys, I would love to know what your main takeaway is on this, and I'd love to know where you are in your life with your energy fields. I'm gonna start sending you some information about this company that I've been using their services for more than a year, and I'm excited about sharing this with you, because this is going to actually help change the frequency of where you live and possibly where you work. But I'll share more probably next week with that. But I hope you have a beautiful Sunday. If you're watching this on Sunday, I hope you're having an amazing second week in January of 2025. It already feels like every day is so packed full of stuff and thoughts, and living through these times with no fear and a whole big wall of courage is the only way to do it. So thanks for being here, guys. I really do appreciate it, and we will catch you next week.